Welcome back, Broncos, to another episode of Crossing the Alameda, where we reconnect with the class of 1991, where we catch up on stories and get a chance to reconnect. We talk about the days of Santa Clara, what's happened in between since we left the mission, and a few fun Fast Five questions that come about. So grab a beverage, sit back, enjoy, and laugh with us as we reconnect with a phenomenal guest today. And I have a full boat of our cast today, or a host, I should say. We have first Charles. How are you doing, Charles?
Hi, Mike. Doing well. Great to see everybody.
Excellent. And next we have Kari.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
And AJ, how are you doing today?
Hi, Mike. Hi, Kari. Hi, Charles. And hi, mystery guest. I can't wait to find out who's on our show this morning.
Yes. Kari, can you do us the honor of introducing our phenomenal guest we have with us today?
Yes. Today we have Beth Riffel-Cavanaugh. And I have been I'm so lucky to say I've known Beth since we were 13 years old. If you do the math, I just turned 57 this week. We met first day of high school, and it's been my great fortune in life that we both ended up at Santa Clara. We've shared many of the same fun experiences, even though we kind of, purposely try to do our own path. We just kept coming back together, like studying abroad in the same city. We were both RAs senior year, but especially ending up in the same city where we raised kids together with our other Santa Clara pals. So this one's especially close to my heart. Beth lived in Swig and then Dunn, spent time in the condos, studied poli-sci and French. I love that she said Love Shack is the song that brings her back, because it reminds me that this gal has a really unique talent for rewriting lyrics to popular songs to fit any celebration, and many people listening know what I'm talking about. After graduation, she joined the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. She eventually became a nurse and later a hospice nurse, doing deeply meaningful end-of-life care. She's the author of Some Light at the End, which is a bedside hospice guide for patients and families, and she wrote The Power and Pain of Nursing, a self-compassion guide for nurses. I'm so proud to have watched her do that while raising kids. It's incredible. She spent last year in New York City to be a little closer to her kids, but also attending Columbia to get her master's in narrative medicine. And she continues to share her wisdom as a writer, a speaker, and a retreat co-leader. Beth and her husband, Kevin, have raised 3 wonderful kids, as I said, and we're so many friends. We're so happy to welcome them back to Portland. So, Beth, I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Boy, that sounded pretty good when you said it like that. Thank you, Kari.
Go ahead.
I feel so lucky that we were able to raise our kids together. That's just so incredible. And I'm so glad you've been with me on my path, because you are basically my memory. You remember more things than I do about my life at Santa Clara and high school. So, yay.
And not everybody always likes that about me. I was just going to say, I love when guests hear their intros, because it is so fun to, obviously I know all these things, but for everyone to get reacquainted with the guest and then just hear it back, I love it. So I'm glad that felt good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it did.
Welcome, Beth. It's wonderful to hear about all your stories and the introduction. I hope that it's amazing. You're a phenomenal person. A number of books that you've written. I'm impressed, and I'm so excited to catch up with you today. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to rewind the clock, and we're going to go back to the days of Santa Clara. So, I want to ask you something. We haven't asked this before, so this is a new question for the podcast. But what brought you to Santa Clara from Southern California?
Kari Morin actually brought me to Santa Clara. We ended up, I think I applied to 3 schools, and Kari and I went up to visit Santa Clara to go visit her sister. And was your brother also there, Kari? I can't remember.
No, he had graduated.
Okay. So Julie showed us a really fun time. We had a great weekend. We got introduced to the nightlife there, and it was just so fun. So as soon as I got in and Kari got in, it was a definite yes. And so I remember being afraid to go to Santa Clara because I thought it was going to be so cold coming from Southern California. So my mom and I, we went out and we bought like wool sweaters and I bought long underwear because I just thought it was going to be so cold. And I didn't have to wear any of those things. So it turned out to be a pleasantly warm place to live, but also like just such, I have so many happy memories from Santa Clara. It turned out to be just a really good fit for me. And really, it was just because of that weekend Kari and I had together.
Go Jules.
I know. She showed us a good time.
Oh, that's great. You lived in Swig and then you lived in Dunn. What's a memory from the dorm days that still makes you smile or laugh?
I remember there was a toga party on the 4th floor, I believe. And one of the participants' toga was kind of like wildly splayed open while he was kind of like running around, and he might have fallen also. So just the parties, for being in a dry dorm, maybe. It wasn't a dry dorm, but we weren't supposed to be drinking. So that was one of my favorite memories. A lot of the parties in Swig were just very fun to be at.
Many of us were there.
I know. Do you
I was
remember
not
that
that one in that toga falling apart.
No.
That was not me.
Nor was A.J. Nope.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
No.
No, we just received
remember you.
photos actually of that said party, so I know that I was still fully clothed. Yeah, may have to send those on. Yeah, that was. I don't think that was like the last one. I think there were multiple goes. There were multiple goes. Like, yeah, you have your fall toga party, and then maybe
Yes.
it's spring, like your bacchanalian. Like, let's get after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey,
that was
was
so
just-
fun. I don't know if they do toga parties anymore.
I
Probably.
don't know.
I wonder.
Anyway.
I think we can thank Animal House for that. Animal House, the movie, not Animal House, the actual physical house on campus. But I think
Yeah.
everybody wanted to Gator, and John Belushi and Tim Mathis. That whole National Lampoon movie basically said, "What says college?
Shout.
Toga party." Right. Exactly.
Right.
So, hey, I have a question. Oh, by the way, I want to thank you actually as a Northern California guy. I could have told you didn't need the wool sweaters and the long johns, but I'm glad that your mom and you came prepared. But I want to thank you for being part of my
Yes.
orientation group at Santa Clara. It was like RIE and then RIFF, and like just by virtue of my last name, I lucked into meeting you on first day at Santa Clara. Also, in that awesome orientation group was Shannon Reardon and Debbie Rischel. So the R's worked out for me, meeting some really cool, smart, extremely just forward-thinking ladies on that first day of school. So I've always kind of had a connection to you just because you were one of the first people I met at Santa Clara, at a school that I
Yeah.
didn't.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what the connection was. Like I forgot that we were in an orientation group together entirely, but I have always felt a connection with you, A.J. So thank you for giving us the origin story.
That's the origin. So I'm just thrilled, and I'm thrilled you're here today. And happy Valentine's Day, by the way, to all of you.
Thank you.
So here's the question. If you go back to Santa Clara, oh yeah, there we go. Big heart. Is that even a heart? It's like other Oregon, right? There's O, and then there's that. There's a lot of Oregon people here. So I'll give you the O too. If you're going back to Santa Clara, what's the first place you're going to when you go back to the Mission campus? When you go, hey, what's that thing for you that says Santa Clara?
I mean, I really love the Mission. We did go to, even though I'm not a churchgoer now, we went to the 10 p.m. Mass. Was that it on Sunday nights there? It was so fun, and it's just so beautiful at night. And I love those memories of, going out. I mean, I'm not a late night person at all. So for me to get up and go to Mass at 10 p.m. is kind of extraordinary. And I just remember it being a lot of fun. And I just think it's such a beautiful part of the campus.
Didn't we it was like the keg mass. I used to refer to it as kego mass, right? You'd go and it'd be 10 o'clock at night, and it was very loud because a lot of people were just trading stories of what happened to them on Friday and what happened on Saturday. And then I think they were trying to cleanse themselves of some godliness at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So I appreciate that. I got to the point though where it was a little too noisy for me. I had to kind of duck out of kego mass because it was like,
Kego Mass.
I gotta go. But I do understand why we all went to kego mass. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a huge socialization piece of Santa Clara. So, yeah.
love it.
I did not remember it was called that.
Me neither.
You and I were both RAs senior year because we studied abroad, and we were on different ends of campus, and we haven't had a ton of funny RA stories yet. A couple, and we're actually going to birth one on tomorrow, so that'll be fun because you did it for 2 years. But you and I were at very different parts of campus. Can you share what your experience was like? Because I think it's got to be so funny and unique to have your first 2 years in the part of campus a lot of us were, like Swig and Dunn, and then to like be an RA over there.
Yeah.
Over
I
there.
mean, it
Over
was
what
kind
civil
of a
where?
mix.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, across the Alameda.
Yeah. I was in Graham. Was that it? Was it Graham,
Yeah,
Kari?
you were in Graham. Yeah, you weren't in Campese, so it had to be Graham.
Yeah. I wasn't in Campese. It was kind of a weird experience for me, honestly. Do I regret it? I mean, I met amazing people, and the kids in my dorm were amazing. It was senior year, and so I missed out on a lot of like the fun things. Kari, you guys had a lot of fun things happening over there on your side of campus. My kids that I had in my dorm, and kids, they were 3 years younger than I was, but they were really, really like tender and sweet. And dry. I mean, it was a dry, self-selecting dorm, people who did not want to drink there. And I was kind of still in my party days. And I would come home from things, and there would be like 10 of them lined up outside of my door, sitting down on the ground, waiting for me to come home. And so I was like, I was kind of on a lot. I was kind of like a mom to some of mom may be too extreme, but I mean, I felt like there was a lot of care that needed to happen. So they were such incredible humans. It was just a big pivot for me in terms of what I kind of, looking back only, like it probably would have been a better idea for me just because of the stage that I was in, just to like not do that. But the kids that I did meet, and then all the other RAs that were in the area, were really incredible. So I also got to meet, just so many more people that I had never even, crossed paths with. Cause, I think I kind of stuck in my tiny little group of people. So I have mixed reviews about it. It was just a shift for me. It was kind of different. Yeah.
You were so good at it. She did have these girls just worshipped her. They were always like see you on campus and be like, Beth. It was so great.
I know.
It was sweet.
Yeah. They were really adorable.
That's awesome.
That's so cute.
So, Beth, thank you for completing the guest form to be on the show today. And I was very happy to see how honest you were about those early college years being more about fun than academics.
Yes.
But don't
Absolutely.
worry, many of us are in that same boat. But looking back, what did that time teach you, would you say, about your early college career and whatnot, about yourself?
I mean, about myself, what did it teach me about myself? I don't know. I'm really glad that I had so much fun in college. I mean, I went back to school in just a couple years later to go back to nursing school. So it's like I got my academic stuff kind of covered later. I didn't know I was going to go into nursing school, but I am so glad that I had so much fun and had such good friends. I mean, the friendship piece was an enormous part of it. I mean, it probably would have been better had I like maybe gotten to know some of the instructors and maybe had more conversations with them, but that was not the path I was on. And now I still have like really amazing friendships from Santa Clara. And, like Kari was saying, there's a couple here who we've raised our kids together, and they've been part of they've really been part of my village here. My daughter, one of my daughters, she always talks about how Kari has really taught her how to be the kind of mom that she wants to be. And Annie Franz, Annie Dice, same. Like my kids have learned a lot from Annie, Steve, Kari, Mark Wilson, all the people that we hang out with up here. So I feel like it was a worthwhile way to spend my time and my parents' money collecting these wonderful friends.
Wonderful.
I think that's part of the journey, right? So let's fast forward from the dorm days and your days as an RA in Graham And let's talk about what life looks like now since you've left the mission campus. Walk us through your path from Santa Clara to now, like the biggest twists, turns. You became a nurse. I'm excited to understand that pivot. Like you joined, you hear about the JVC, or you can start wherever you want. You can start in the present. You can take it from, you know, later Santa Clara, and I'm out in the world trying to figure it out. But up to you how you want to roll out your narrative. But it's been a fascinating ride, and I can't wait to get to what you're doing now. So let's go.
Let's go. Okay. So after I remember at Santa Clara, like spring semester of senior year, interviewing at like John Hancock to be an underwriter in San Francisco. And I was wearing nylons and pumps, and I bought like a navy blue suit. And, it never felt really right to me to go down that path, but it just was what everybody was doing. And Kari, I think you're probably the one who told me about the JVC. And I ended up applying to the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. I mean, I don't think I got any job offers, so that was one thing. But I also, JVC, you sign up for this 1-year adventure of doing social worky type work. You get placed somewhere. You don't know where you're going to go until they tell you. And so I got my I signed up for the Pacific Northwest, and you could have been up in Alaska, up in, rural parts of Washington. And I got placed in nursing homes in Auburn, Washington. And Auburn, Washington is just like, not that far from Seattle. So it was kind of like, it was very suburban, which a lot of the JVC placements are in rural. Anyway. So I did JVC, working in nursing homes, doing social worky stuff. And then I thought I was working with geriatrics, and it was so fun to be like part of this new clientele that I'd never really worked with. Like I met this one woman, and she told me, she said, when I die, I want to be cremated because finally I'm going to be warm. I'm cold all the time. So like people would just be so honest and funny. And it just made me think, oh, maybe I could do nursing, which I had never, ever thought about. Definitely not like a STEM girl at all. I mean, I chose poli-sci because it had the fewest amount of credits that I needed to graduate on time. So going into nursing, I ended up, after Auburn, Washington that year, which was an incredible year. I mean, that was my biggest pivot in my life. And also I was introduced to like spiritual direction. So I had some women in my life who kind of helped me kind of choose my purpose and what felt like was my heart path, like what felt right to me, and kind of tuning into that internally. I'm kind of balancing out the head and the heart and what we want to do with our lives. So that felt like a really important piece of all of my next steps. And so after Auburn, Washington, I ended up moving to Portland with a bunch of Jesuit volunteer friends, and Annie Dice was here, and Steve was in Salem, I think, or maybe he was in Peace Corps at the time. But I knew Annie was going to be here, which felt really amazing. And Christine Stroud, she's a year younger than us. She's one of my good friends too. She's from Santa Clara. And I started working with dementia patients, and I started going to take nursing prerequisites. So I was, taking all the organic chemistry and biology and A&P and, classes I had never even thought I would take before. And it ended up just being fine. And then I went to, and then I met my husband. So I was doing that for about 2.5 years, working and going to school. And I met Kevin here in Portland. Kari, when did you and Brendan move here? I forget.
I want to say 98.
98. Okay.
1998.
So 95, Kevin and I, my husband and I, we got married pretty quickly, and I wasn't pregnant or anything. I just we met and we fell in love. It was a 10-month engagement. I mean, it was a 10-month actually relationship, and we were married after 10 months. So it was pretty fast and furious. And we moved to Omaha, Nebraska after that, so I could go to nursing school. So we literally got married April 29th, went on my honeymoon, which Kari helped me pack for. Thank you, Kari. And then we And then we drove cross country, and I started school on May 15th, 1995. So went to nursing school in Omaha, Nebraska. And that was pretty amazing. It was a great year. It was a 1-year accelerated nursing program. And then after that, we went back to Portland and lived there and started, a family. I think I was 26 or 27, and then I had my first kid, Jack, at 28 years old. So I was just kind of like working, raising kids, kind of like, how you're like kind of in the fog and doing that. I ended up going into hospice care probably a decade after. Oh, well, actually, an important piece is that my mom died in 1998. And so I was a nurse. I'd been a nurse for a year in Portland, and I went down there to take care of her for the last couple months of her life. And it wasn't my first exposure to hospice, but it was the most profound death that I had experienced in my life. And she had asked me to take care of her. So that was a huge pivot for me in terms of what I wanted to do with my career. And so years later, I ended up going into hospice, and it just, it felt like I landed professionally, partly because I had my own experience with my mom's death, and I knew what it felt like to be a caregiver. But also, being in hospice, everybody has the same questions again and again and again and again and again. And, so you're constantly just like educating people about it, end of life care. And I just worked in some really amazing facilities and with different hospice organizations. And it has been just kind of like a beautiful part of my life that I feel so grateful for. And I ended up writing the book about hospice care mostly because I had all those questions come at me again and again. And people are just like deer in the headlights, when it comes to taking care of somebody who's dying. It was a weird passion project for me for like 2 years. I worked on this book with some other, like an artist and some other people who really helped me create it. And, I'm really glad I do it. I mean, I don't sell many, I sold 100 copies last year on Amazon. So it's not like, it's not supporting me. I'm able to get some lattes because of it. And, but it's kind of a fun thing that I feel really like so happy that I did that. Even though, I don't know, I just feel glad that I did that with all my hospice wisdom and kind of my years of work. And really it came from all the people that mentored me above. Um,
Hey, Beth,
okay.
I want to
Yeah.
thank you. I want to thank you for your book. I mean, maybe maybe I was responsible for 3 of your sales for last year. We are in that
Thank
window.
you.
We are in that window of life where, we talked about this on the show before, the parenting elevator, where you're dealing with your aging parents or your spouse's aging parents or your friend's aging parents. And, the reality is that, nobody gets out alive, right? I mean, the reality is there is a finite end, and your book really brought some peace and solace to some of my friends.
Thanks,
I
AJ.
really appreciated the words and your thought process, and being able to um, put something like that down on paper is hard. And I think obviously you with your mom probably gave you that unique perspective. And I think death comes at people in a lot of different ways, and a lot of people can handle it and most people can't. And I really wanted to applaud you for making, I don't want to say a playbook, but I think it's your experience, but I think, your experience there's a universal truth to death, like there is. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to thank you for being like a go-to for me to say, hey, I know you're struggling. I had a friend with his dad had Parkinson's, and he was an only child, and he was struggling really badly. And I said, you might want to read this book. And I pointed it, and
Thank
he
you.
called me like after his dad died, and he just said, I want to thank you for helping me with that. And that book was just really important in his resolution, right? He had to come to some level of a resolution with, and his dad didn't want to be on the planet anymore. I mean, this is kind of heavy stuff, but like there's a point where
Yeah.
his pride was like, I don't want to be here. And
Yeah.
my friend struggled with that statement. I said, look, man, he's trying to
Mm,
make his own call. And so your book was really helpful. And I just want to say, from a
mm,
personal, selfish standpoint, thank you. So
thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom, Beth. I appreciate that. I mean, I wish my mom passed away 2 years ago, and it was a long battle with cancer. And while, thankfully I have people around me who help me with spirituality or dealing with death and dealing with just life in general. But it would have been a lot better to kind of get ahead of that, and rather than, be a little more proactive and understanding how I could be there for my mom and my siblings, because that was a big challenge is for my three siblings and I to be there for each other. And so,
Yeah.
and because it is a very stressful time for family, isn't it? And I could see where, I was probably the lucky one who was the furthest away, and my siblings had to deal with a lot of that. But at the same time, I was away and could kind of have that more view of what was happening with
Right.
the challenges in the family. So, yes,
Yeah.
so I wish I would have read the book previously, but
You can
thank you.
call me. You can call
Yeah,
me.
I
Yeah.
will next time. Well, next time I'm in Portland, I'm going to call all you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
But thank you for
Yeah,
sharing
family dynamics definitely persist, even at death. That does not go away. All of our stuff comes up,
You
and
can say it.
You can say shit.
all of our shit comes up, no matter what. And that is a hard part of caring for somebody who's dying, because family dynamics are just there. They are 100% there with every single family. So, yeah, it's been a really cool journey. Honestly, I feel, yeah, just really lucky that I've been able to be on that path and part of it. And a lot of people, they just need to know, to be able to read it, like you said, Mike, get ahead of it, then it doesn't feel so scary, because when things start happening with somebody who's dying, you at least know, oh, this is normal. Because that's like, it's kind of like when the dishwasher guy comes over and he fixes our dishwasher. I'm like, what is wrong with it? And then he like describes it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, thank you. It's just, we educate kind of like the dishwasher guy. I mean, you feel better knowing somebody knows what's coming next. So let's
Can
see.
I just add one thing to that? Because Beth was with me through quite a journey my dad had. And also like what I learned from Beth when she lost her awesome mother, her lovely mother, and through that whole process, and I've shared this with so many people, is that death is as, if not more beautiful than birth. It is such a precious, beautiful moment to be part of. And I think in Western culture, we're pretty slow to realize that. And the more people like Beth are, humanizing it, making it funny, making it real, it really helps us all have a much better experience and work through our grief. And so I just can't recommend it enough. I just had Brendan go grab your books for me. I was like, this is it. So
Thanks,
proud of you.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carrie.
What's the
Yeah,
name
I
of the
mean,
book,
I'll
Carrie?
say
Hey, what's the name of the book?
Some light at the end.
Yeah.
I will say, like, to your point, Carrie, thank you for all of that. I think it can be beautiful, which people are kind of like surprised by, but I think it's because you do kind of know what's coming. Not everybody dies in the same way, for sure, but there is a general look to dying, and if okay, like they probably have a week left. Okay, they probably have 24 to 48 hours left. You kind of like mobilize, right? You're like, okay, this is it. And we only get to die once, except for a couple lucky people. But, then you can mobilize people to come in if you want to. Like you can try to get out of the dying person what they want at their last moments of life. You can make it really profound and beautiful. A lot of times, you can just have it be quiet if that's what they wanted. You can at least work towards trying to make it a more peaceful passing. Yeah, so that's been a fun part of my journey. And then the writing and then, all the kid thing has been great. I would say raising kids has been awesome. They are all on the East Coast right now, which is kind of breaking my heart a bit. But I have one, Jack is in New York. He's 28. Gracie is 26, and she's in Philadelphia. And LJ is 21, and she's in Ohio. And so it was really fun to be there last year in New York because I got to see them a lot more. And one of my daughter, Grace, is probably going to move out to the Bay Area this summer. So I'm excited about that just to get her back on the West Coast. But, that's another like one of life's transitions that I don't think I really anticipated, even though everybody told us about it, the empty nest thing. It's very strange to have your life dedicated, to your children, and then they're all gone and they don't really need you. They care about you, but you don't really feel that on the day to day. So that's been just kind of like an interesting piece to kind of like, oh, what's next? It kind of just makes me think like, I mean, I'm sure people who have kids, you're like, oh, wait, that was such a big part of why my purpose. And now that piece is gone. So just a interesting part of that stage of life, this stage that I'm in. And I ended up so I was writing, doing a lot of writing about end-of-life care and nursing and stuff. And I heard about this program at Columbia, the narrative medicine program, and I thought, oh, I'll probably apply to that, which is like an insane thing. Like I didn't even know what the program was about. And it's basically blending humanities and medicine to cultivate more empathetic caregivers, clinicians. That's the easiest way to describe it. Everybody has their own definition. The whole entire year I was there, I was like, what is narrative medicine? Like, I don't get it. But it's been a really fun part of my process. I mean, so much of the fun was living in New York for a year for me and Kevin. But the other piece was just being so academically challenged. And, probably the first 2 months, the hardest part for me was technology. I would have 24-year-olds like, maybe you shouldn't print out all those readings. Maybe you should get an iPad. You can highlight on an iPad. So I was learning a lot about just stupid technology and the narrative medicine. Yeah. It's so anyway. And then my friend and I, Ludvika, she's from Italy, are fellows this year with Columbia. So we're doing some programs with narrative medicine. And so I'm kind of like professionally kind of still doing my hospice work and then kind of working on this narrative medicine stuff, which is like writing workshops for everybody, really. So that's my story.
Amazing.
What's that? What's can you talk a little bit about the creative process itself? I mean, it's interesting where you're like, I got this tech issue, but like, what is at its core? What's the creative process for narrative medicine? I'm just curious, like, or what's your process in this in this uh in this interesting? I mean, it's an interesting field. I mean, and I think I think you hit on it, like humanities meets medicine. Like, what's the creative process for you in executing on this concept?
I mean, I'm not really sure how to answer that, but I'll try. So much of it is about creativity because I have a feeling this is just going to be a bunch of mumbo jumbo and won't make any sense because I haven't quite curated what I'm going to say about this. But creativity is a big part of the narrative medicine piece. And part of it is to kind of shift your own mindset about your own perspectives, about medicine, about your patients, about systemic injustices, and to use your creativity to like come up with better solutions for your patient that are more appropriate to them or healthcare. There's a lot of problems in healthcare, as we know. So the creative process, I mean, a big piece of what we do is writing workshops, and we dissect a text or an piece of art, and that kind of stimulates a conversation with the group, which kind of opens up your brain and creativity. And then you do some self-reflective writing, which is also creative. And then you have this kind of amazing conversation where everybody kind of shifts their perspectives and you can see more clearly that there are many more ways to look at one problem than your own. I'm going to stop talking because it does get very confusing.
I do.
You also did a really cool project with Griffin, which was really neat for us. And we actually got to use it like with his care team, which was really cool.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. That was really fun. Griff was very accommodating. So Griffin is 22, right? So we did about 3 different interviews, me and Griffin, and he would tell me, I would ask him so many questions about his life and, what works for him, what doesn't work for him, talk about your seizure stuff, talk about like what's exciting to you. And he was so gracious and like always on time and like always just so ready and willing. And it was a beautiful project about the project was about disabilities and looking at a disability from that patient's perspective. It was really, I think we come to healthcare with a lot of our own ideas and opinions and thoughts about people, and we make really snap judgments. Griffin, sometimes it's difficult for him to talk like quickly because maybe he's just had a seizure, and so his words don't come out as cleanly as he would like them to. But God, I mean, if you just are patient enough and quiet enough to give him the time and the space to talk, I mean, he is like right there with you. And he is so laser focused and so funny. It's just really amazing. But, and I think the hard part is that a lot of times people aren't patient enough to just stop and be. So Griffin continues to teach me a lot about how to be in the world.
I do have a quick. I'm so fascinated. You are comfortable in your house in Portland. The kids are out of the house. What makes you think I'm gonna go to New York? This is West Coast, East Coast. My brother went to Columbia, and I remember the stories he talked about being at Columbia and whatnot. And I've been to New York so many times, and it's just such a vibrant city and just so chaotic. And then you're studying. Tell me a little about that thought process. Like, I'm crazy for this. This is why am I doing this? Or is it this full on like, this is great. I'm learning something new. I'm continuing my education. Tell us a little more about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool. Kari actually has a lot to do with my thought process. So when I heard about the program, I was like, I'm going to apply. This is insane. And I just took the steps towards applying. It took me a couple months to apply. And Kari, I was on a retreat with Kari. And actually, before the retreat, I remember sitting in my living room, and we had a beautiful house, like we'd been there for 12 years, and we had everything we need. And I'm sitting on my couch just like, I am insane. Like you said, Mike, like, this is insane. Why would I leave this all behind? And then I was like, well, I mean, it's still going to be here for me, like in 2 years. So I can always come back. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I have a little bit of gypsy blood in me anyway. I'm kind of like, what else can I go check out? The weekend that I was supposed to submit, my application to Columbia, I was on a retreat at one of Kari's retreats that she leads, which are incredible, with her Best Chapter Yet retreats. And this was down in Laguna. Is that where we were?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Kari, you can probably speak more to the process, but it was those 5 pillars that you look at in your life. And I'll let Kari talk to that. As I was doing it, it became very clear that if I got in, I was absolutely going to go. So Kari, you can go ahead and speak to the part of this retreat. It was a whole retreat, but this one part was pivotal.
Yeah, I'll just say really quick, it's kind of like looking at yourself and where you want to be in a year, and exactly like how do you want to be feeling, or how do you want to identify yourself in a year, and then you go into the 5 areas of your life, like your career, your finances, your relationship to that which is greater, whether it's your faith, your spiritual life, your spiritual path, love and relationships, and health, like those 5 areas. So
yeah. It was very cool. And being in New York was just awesome. For 1 year, it felt just perfect. And we lived in student housing in a 600 square foot apartment with a whole bunch of grad students. And, it's kind of hard to live in New York, I'll be honest, like to not have a trunk and go get your groceries and, all the things I was used to. Like, we didn't have a car. We did subways everywhere, walked everywhere. It is such a vibrant city. It was really very fun. Yeah.
Hey,
Awesome.
Beth, you spent a lot of time around. I mean, you've spent a lot of time around end of life stories, right? I mean, I think that's fascinating, and I think it's so important, transitioning to out or the other side or wherever you think that is. How's that changed? How's that changed how you think about what makes a good life? When you see people looking at the end of their lives, what is, and Kari Morin gets big props for this question, because I think this question is dynamite. So I'm giving Kari credit for throwing me a nice softball, but like, what, when you see the end of life, like, how has that changed how you see what makes a good life?
Well, I think, for me, like, I ended up probably spending way more money than I should have being a hospice nurse, because you're constantly reminded, shit, I could die tomorrow. Like, no matter the age, no matter what age I was, I always had somebody that was my age that I was taking care of, 43, 53. So you're just constantly reminded. And then I'd come home and I'd be like, we got to go to Hawaii. We got to go to Thailand. We got to like get out of here. What are we doing? But so I think for me, everybody is very different. I think what makes a good life. I mean, relationships are always like a big part of it. Although not everybody's going to have people at their bedside, no matter how well they've cultivated all their relationships. I mean, a lot of times people die alone or without all their people. That is a normal part of it. But I do think, so I think maybe the most important thing is kind of like what's happening in here, with you. How are you feeling about your life? How are you feeling about what you've done? How are you feeling about your relationships and where they are right now? How do you feel about how you've, spent your money, tended to your pets, whatever's in, whatever kind of aligns with your own personal ethos. I think everybody has their own way in this world. And obviously there's not just like one solution to what makes a good life. It has to be something that you really articulate yourself. What will life, what will make my life matter? And a lot of times for people, it is gardening, it is, tending to children, it is being a pilot, it is reading books. Like everybody just has their own path. So I think really kind of sitting and discerning over the course of some time what's important to you, knowing that you are going to leave this earth and going from there.
So Beth, if you could sit down with your 1991 graduating self, what advice would you give her?
Hydrate a little bit more. Fat-free is not the way to diet. Don't do fat-free anything. Let's see. What would I give it? Maybe I don't regret being up in Portland, but I am like confused sometimes about why I chose a rainy city to live. But I do feel like I trusted my heart in like every step of the way. So I think maybe just kind of like trusting. I would tell my 1991 self to trust herself.
Nice. Awesome.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. We're going to transitioning to the Fast Five. See what I did there? We're going to go to the Fast Five.
Oh, okay. I thought we were done. Okay.
We're going to throw you a question.
Almost.
You're going to answer it. It's going to be amazing. And here we go. Question number one.
Okay, first question. What was your first concert?
Michael Jackson, The Victory Tour.
Ooh.
Nice.
Ooh.
That's a good one. All right. I don't even know the answer to this. What's your least favorite chore?
Any chore. I hate housework. So
yes, taking us back to what slang word would you like to bring back from the 80s?
Oh, a slang word. Bitchin'?
Yes, I love bitchin'.
That's such a good one.
SoCal. SoCal.
Yeah.
That's bitchin'.
Bitchin' Camaro.
Nice.
Oh my God, so good.
Yes.
All right, hey, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, skills don't matter, talent does not matter.
Yeah.
What's a completely different career you might have pursued?
I have no idea what I might have pursued, but what sounds kind of cool would be like being a surfer in Hawaii.
Very cool.
Nice.
Which
Why not?
island?
Yeah.
Where are you surfing? I love that idea. Is it big wave
Look at
surfing,
Mike's-
competitive surfing? We're Mike and I. We're all down in Hawaii. Where are you surfing? What's the
Now that
call?
Okay, now that you start talking about it, I'm starting to feel like I want to throw up because like surfing scares me. Like I've only surfed like 3 times in my life, and they were like really little baby waves, like in Honolulu. So I don't know. I think maybe I would just want to surf for fun. So maybe I would just be independently wealthy, so I can like play around in the water.
I like
I'm
it.
changing my answer.
Good.
All right. Final question. Do you have a favorite condiment?
I don't know. Maybe guacamole, does that count? Like anytime I think of condiment, I want to throw up. Like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, relish. Like, is that a condiment? Like, is that what you mean? What do people say?
I guess
Guac could be a condiment. Yeah.
Yeah,
You could use
guacamole's
guac.
totally a
It's a salad.
condiment.
You put
Yeah,
it on your
you can
toast,
put it on
your
anything.
chips, on anything, yeah.
Nice.
a
Yes,
flavor
on your-
enhancer.
What do people answer? So
I think that might be the first time we've asked.
Yeah, we have
No, someone said ketchup, right? Or they
No,
said
no,
we
did
had mustard
did
on a
Sage
hot
say?
dog.
Mustard.
Mustard on a hot
Oh,
dog was a
mustard. That's
winner.
right.
Mustard on a
Yeah.
hot dog,
Okay,
and that was
okay.
a 100% great
Okay.
answer
Yeah,
across the board.
That's
I think
Okay,
that question
yeah,
throws
perfect.
everyone because they hear condiment and they're like,
Did
Yeah.
you
the
say
hell's that?
condom? No,
Yeah.
condiment.
That's
know,
what I
right?
thought. Yeah, yeah.
I need to enunciate very clearly.
Yes. You
So
did
it's
Yeah,
not
enunciate
yeah.
clearly, and I was very glad you did because I was a little worried about this one.
Trojan all the way.
I think a bonus question. We got a bonus question. I want the bonus question because I think this is so good. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, that's a good one for her.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Let It Be right now. I don't know. Like that's the first song that came to me. Let It Be.
Fun fact, Beth
Beautiful
grew up in
song.
a karaoke family. Like in high school, we were always doing karaoke with our parents. So yeah.
I know, like, and I should know what my songs are because we sang Hopelessly Devoted to You. That was one that, like, my
Oh, that's
dad
good.
had an 8-track karaoke. He had, like, we had karaoke in the 70s
Yeah.
and in the 80s. Then we had the DVDs or whatever they are, the CDs and stuff. So Grease was a big
That
part
was.
of I knew the entire album, like, up and down all around. So Hopelessly Devoted to You. That's a good one.
Nice. Excellent.
Love
choice.
That is a good one. Well, Beth, it has been bitchin' to have you on the show.
Bring it back.
And
bring it back.
We're going to bring it back. And, thank you so much for being, candid and honest with us today. It's been very beautiful to listen to you and hear your responses and hear about your life. So thank you for sharing that with us today. Very much appreciated. Before we
Thank
wrap
you
up,
guys.
is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Anything you'd like to say to your fellow alumni from the class of 1991?
I mean, I always got to give Burnjack a shout out. Anne Burnjack, now Brandon. She lived across the hall from me. And, she was one of my best friends in college. And, she's just like a really important part of it, my whole experience there, and continues to be. Kari Morin, God bless. Michelle Qualls, Amy Baird, Julie TK, Craig Mile, Annie and Steve, Mark Wilson. I think about, we would party together in Dunn and drink Bacardi rum until we passed out. Not passed out, until we went like blacked out, really. And then who knows what we did afterwards. I mean, there's so many people. It's really hard to sorry, I should have had my list prepared. But to all my friends, you know who you are. I love you and thank you.
That's the best shout out I think we've had.
Yeah,
That was
that
good.
was great. Beth, I'm so freaking proud of you. And we all are. And I'm so grateful for the work you're doing in the world. So thank you for spending your time with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Kari.
For sure.
I love you guys.
This has been great. Thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for listening. And we hope this episode brought back some memories and helped you learn something about a classmate.
Beth Riffel-Cavanaugh, you're fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We love you, and thank you. Hey, by the way, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow us, share, click, snap, send it to your friends of the class of 1991, send it to your mom, send it to your dad, send it to people that are in the Bronco community. That's Crossing the Alameda. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we have a Facebook presence and an Instagram presence. If you want to give us a little shout out or a note, or you want to be on the show, email us at crossingalameda@gmail.com. That's crossingalameda@gmail.com. We can only build this community with the help and love of our fellow classmates. Thank you, Beth, for coming on. And as we say, go Broncos.
Go Broncos. And we'll see you next time on Crossing the Alameda.
Thank you.